Hi, my name's Yasmin and I'm the DM.
Hi, my name is Samantha. I play Elora Greyvale and she is a sorceress from the province of Nephalia.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I play Ogvar Shawfort, the goat-herding, mushroom-seeking ranger from Kessig.
Hi, I'm Rick, and I play Otto, a spring sage from Hanweir sworn to the land, wandering the plain and setting wrongs to right with his ursine companion, Bojo.
Seeking some solace, the party sought a safe space in which to recuperate. Elora, applying her last shreds of energy, found a suitable spot in which to successfully expand their instant fortress, and the team took to the tower to rest and regroup. Sending the druid out to see what dangers may dwell further ahead, his rodent reconnaissance soon spotted a tripwire linked to a poorly made log launcher, which he deftly dealt with. Further down the tunnel, he had discovered a locked door behind which voices could be heard. With Elora and Ogvar now ensconced atop their tower, and Otto a few floors below, what unravelled next was the vengeful roasting of a Skursdag recruit and a gamely gatecrasher on the crenellations. Episode 178, Balustrade Bully.
Okay, so jumping back into the action, Elora, you have just been smashed by this flail. And top of the round, it is your turn.
Oof! What? She's going to reach out.
That's your turn, done.
Yeah.
Dramatic. What performance?
Reach out and just very tightly grab Ogvar's tunic to support herself.
I say you're grappling him.
Well, yes, I'm kind of grappling him, but not in an unpleasant way. Don't take that wrong.
There's only the wrong way to take that.
Yeah, I think her eyes would sort of, she's a bit bent double, and as she kind of raises her head, she's still a bit bent double. What does she see in front of her?
You see a quite bulky looking man. He looks to be well muscled, bit dirty, like this other woman which you burnt. He looks kind of unkempt, kind of dirty, wearing he's wearing what looks to be like light leather armour, and he wears the colours of the Skursdag cult. Okay,
so is he now climbed fully up on top of the wall, or is he just climbing over it, so he's looking down at me?
So he has basically kind of vaulted over the edge of the tower, and as he's done so, he's kind of smacked into you with the flail. So he's now stood there on top of the tower, facing both you and Otto.
Oh my god, so like looming over us, in front of us?
Yeah, he's right in front of you. He is within, he's melee range, he's 5 foot in front of you.
So he's balanced on the wall?
No, he's vaulted over the wall.
Oh, right, okay.
He stood 5 foot in front of you.
Oh, well that's just rude. And that's my turn done. Because I think I'm kind of bent double and just trying to work out what the hell just happened.
Okay. So next up I think we had Otto? Was it Otto next or was it Ogvar next? I've got conflicting notes.
One second, I will check my notes. Yeah. I had Elora, Ogvar, then Otto, so I think...
Okay.
That's not
Ogvar
exactly.
is next then.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Of course, Ryan's not here for this session either. It's still on holiday.
So is the Wasparade apparently.
Yeah, so...
Make sure I fit the word lewd in and then you're okay. He's kind of going to show his shock at somebody standing in front of him. He's going to kind of lean back a little bit with Elora grabbing his arm and... can he... Right, so he's in really close quarters here, so he's not going to be able to use his bow, is he?
No, not without taking severe penalties.
Okay, so I think, can he just take his battle axe off his side? I mean, obviously he'd have had an arrow knocked in the bow, but I think he would have just dropped the arrow, held onto the bow with one hand and pulled his battle axe as a reaction.
Not as a reaction, so it's going to be... It's an action to switch weapons.
Okay, so yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's just got his bow in one
And
hand.
that's also going to provoke an attack of opportunity as he does that.
There is something else he could do, if we're sort of discussing options. Without dropping his bow, he could just try and boot the guy back over the edge.
That's a good idea. Yes, I think perhaps in the first instance, I think he would just literally rush at the guy and just... I mean, he's got his bow in one hand, but rush at the guy and actually just try shoving him off balance back towards the edge of the castellations on the wall.
Yeah, let me just check a rule.
I mean, he hasn't got a bull rush ability, but I think he would rush at him.
Just checking a ruling here. Give me 1 second.
He's that close to him, he might as well. Point blank shot. What's that do?
Let me see. Hang on, this isn't going well.
That doesn't allow you to...
There will be an attack of opportunity on him.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
just-
think he's going to escape that, is it? This guy's in our faces, so I don't think he's going to escape that anyway.
Yeah. The other thing he might want to do is squeak very loudly.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he would also shout very loudly at this point. It's also shouting also acts as a distraction. So if you shout in somebody's face really loudly, that they're not kind of going to expect that necessarily. So maybe try and just get that secondary pause of surprise at somebody making loads of noise in your face, and then just literally just tackle him as if he was rushing at him to give him a really good shove backwards towards the wall.
Am I imagining things, Rick, or was there an actual shove?
It's
As
bull
a-
rush.
Is it bull rush, is it?
I
Yeah.
thought that was an ability.
Oh, shove is 5e, isn't it?
Improved bull rush is a common feat, yeah.
Yeah. So you can make a bull rush. You can do a bull rush.
I can do a bull rush.
You
Okay,
make
what's
bull
my
rush as
rolling for that?
You can make a bull rush as a standard action, attack or as part of a charge.
Okay.
When you make a bull rush, you attempt to push an opponent straight back instead of damaging him. So
Right.
it does depend if you want to try and push him back over the wall. If you want
Well,
to try
I
and-
think that's all he's got right at this moment.
Okay.
This guy's in his face.
First, you move into the defender's space. Doing this provokes an attack of opportunity for each opponent that threatens you. So you going ahead with the bull rush, yeah?
Yeah, I don't see that he's got... Whatever he does, it's going to provoke, so...
Okay. So you're going to provoke an attack of opportunity from that one. So we're going to do a attack of opportunity, which is a 18 on Ogvar's AC.
Did he have...
You
did
gave him mage
I
armor.
gave him mage
You
armor,
did.
which
no,
gives him
so
a +4
would-
bonus.
Yeah, so it would miss. So he's got 17 armour class, and that would have added 4, so he would have had a 21, so that would miss.
Sweet. Okay. For charge, after moving, you may make a single melee attack. Since you use the momentum of the charge in your favour, you get a +2 bonus on the attack roll. Oh, hang on, so I've skipped the page. Bloody hell. That's why it wasn't making
I
sense.
don't know, that
So-
sounded quite good.
It is, as far as I understand, it's an opposed strength check.
Yes, it is. So you get a +2 bonus if you're charging, you're not charging. 4 bonus if it's more than 2 legs. I thought I read that as a +4 bonus is if he has more than 2 legs or is otherwise emotionally stable. It's not. It's exceptionally. Okay, so opposed strength check. So you're going to roll a d20, add Ogvar's strength modifier,
Okay.
and I'm going to roll a d20 and add his strength modifier.
Okay, so that's a 15 plus 1 for Ogvar for a 16.
Sweet. So with a 3 rolled on the die and a +3 with a 6, he's definitely going to lose out on that strength check.
Excellent.
Probably as he's caught off guard. And you push him back 5 foot. If you wish to move with the defender, you can push him back an additional 5 feet for each. 5 for each. an additional 5 feet for each 5 points by which your check result is greater than the defender. So you rolled a 16.
16, yeah.
He rolled a 6, so you get an additional 10 feet.
Oh,
Yep.
If necessary, you don't want to follow him off the edge.
No. So effectively what's going to happen is, I'm assuming that if Ogvar can, Ogvar would like to push him over the edge.
I think Ogvar would try with all his strength to push him backwards, yes.
Okay, so with all of Ogvar's strength, he moves. He's obviously stood in front of him. He can't charge, so he's going to just push at him. With a exceeding by 10 on the strength checks, he has 10 additional foot of movement. So Ogvar can push backwards and push this guy an additional 10 foot. So effectively 15 foot in total. But because Ogvar can only move 5 at 10 foot. But what is going to happen is, as you kind of wheeze, you're winded, you're wounded, you grab onto Ogvar. Ogvar is surprised, and he then just immediately, as a reaction, just kind of pushes this guy, stepping forward into space and just running him backwards until this guy's back hits the edge of the castellations on the tower, which are about waist height. They're not tall, they're about waist height. So he's going to hit the edge of the tower. He's going to take a d4 damage from hitting the edge of the tower as bludgeoning. So if you could roll me a d4, please.
Okay, I'll do that. D4 coming up.
Yep.
That's 3 points of damage.
Sweet. So he takes 3 points of damage as he impacts with the edge of the tower, and you kind of hear him as he hits, and then Ogvar pushes him that bit further as he topples over the edge of the tower. And you are going to roll me 3d6 falling damage, please.
3d6 falls. 3d6. Okay, so that's 2 4s and a 1 for 9 points of damage.
Okay.
And I think as the guy goes, Ogvar would be like, oof, push him off, and he's like, just get back in your own lane, go away.
Okay. So you kind of see, peer over the edge as this guy's body falls through the air. He hits the ground in a rumpled heap, and I think at this point, Otto, you would probably see him as he passes down by the arrows that you are currently looking out of.
Yeah, and I mean, Ogvar would be looking over the castellations, watching this guy go, and I think Elora would be sort of partially doubled, but kind of leaning forward to see what happens, and also watching this guy go while she's still gasping to get her breath, I think.
So he hits the floor with a large thump, and you can hear him groaning at the impact. But he very quickly kind of rolls onto his side and starts pushing himself up.
Did his flail go with him, or did he drop that on the castle?
Flail went with him.
Oh, that's a shame.
So it's just to waste some time picking it up. It's not a bad thing.
So yeah, I mean, I think Otto, at this point, you would have seen him as his body went past the arrows that you're looking out of, and he's on the floor, crumpled at the base of the tower, prone.
Yeah. Well done, both.
And that is.
Elora will just shout down, thanks, but he did get me. That's all you get out of her at the moment. I think she'd then just crumple down to the floor and just sit down for a few minutes.
We're not out of combat.
Well, no, but she's just going to sit down.
It's not your turn. You can't crumple on your own. You can crumple on your own turn.
I'm not allowed to crumple. Okay.
No free crumple actions.
No.
No free crumple actions.
Fainting, however, is allowed. Okay, you can do that. That's a free action.
No origami for Elora.
Okay, so next up, assuming Ogvar's turn is done, he's kind of dusting his head. Oh, that takes out the trash.
Yeah, I think he'd pick his bow up though, and
I mean, he wouldn't have dropped his, but he'd still have his bow.
His arrow.
Hand, so
Yeah, I think he'd just
kind of
pick the arrow up. He dropped it.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
he's like, he dusts off his hands. Oh, that's taking up the trash. And that's the end of Ogvar's turn. Otto, you're up. You've just seen this guy fall from the sky and crumple on the ground in front of the tower. He's currently still prone, but definitely alive.
There's no one else in sight. There's this crispy fried cultist somewhere ahead of us.
Yep.
I don't. The only other one I've seen is this. I think, given that he's obviously had a way to climb up, but no, the others will really be aware of him. I think Otto's just going to stand there and wait for the moment, and maybe just call through. Don't suppose you'd be interested in talking, old chap. And then wait to see if there's a response. He will just draw to one side in case anyone tries to poke anything through the holes. He doesn't want to get caught by unawares by that.
That sounds dodgy, Jesus. Can you please make me a diplomacy check? it's going to be
I was about to say
contested.
no, but apparently this is something that he might better do. Of course, I've stitched it now. So, commentator's curse. I got an 8, but it is plus 15, so 23. Apparently,
Oh my
he's
God.
fairly charismatic.
23.
Jesus.
23. Okay. Yeah, so with that, the guy on the floor, he kind of, he rolls over. He was trying to get up. He's just kind of rolled over on his back, and he's kind of just laying there winded. And as you say that, he kind of, from that prone position, you see his eyes angled downwards. He's trying to look at you without moving anything, because clearly he's hurting a little bit here. And he kind of looks at you and he raises a hand. I might take you up on that offer. This doesn't seem to be working out well.
Do seem to be having a bit of a bad day.
It's always a bad day round here.
You should try the other side. It's much more fun.
As he lays there on the floor, groaning. And at that point, he rolled a 12 on his contested will check against your diplomacy check. So you have succeeded in kind of engaging with him more diplomatically, and at this point I'm going to take you out of combat. So you are all free to make your actions. So I'm assuming on top of the tower you guys would be doing something. I mean, you could crumple now.
Yes. Elora has now origami folded herself onto the floor to recover slightly.
Your knees turned into fusion balloons.
I think Ogvar would look down at Elora and say, again, with the life choices.
Okay.
And then he'd sort of, I think he'd probably wander off. Are you okay, Elora? I'll go down and see if I can help Otto. And he turns around and he'll go down to help Otto.
Okay, you're just plastered on the roof.
Yeah. Elora's
Okay.
just literally just trying to recover.
Yeah, you're just staring up at the stalactites. Occasionally, a drip falls on your head, which is quite irritating.
Yeah, she's in her head. She's just wondering why the hell she got out of bed this morning.
Okay. So, Ogvar makes his way downstairs. You eventually see him appear, Otto. What are the pair of you doing?
I think I just sort of, as Ogvar comes down, I sort of make sure he's got an arrow knocked. So I motion to him that obviously to be ready, and I rather carefully open the door, ready for any shenanigans that might come out of this. Well, I don't want to call him a captive, but our potential negotiator, maybe. And
Yeah?
so I look slightly down him. You, is it fairly comfortable down there? I'd sort of suggest you stand up, but at the same time, you might want to make sure you've not got any weapons in your hands. I'd hate to think Ogvar would have a reason to let go of the arrow.
Okay, so he seems to have recovered a little bit from his winding. He looks up at you and goes, honestly, it's not particularly comfortable. There's a large rock in my spine. And he's still got the flail in his hand, and he lifts his hand with the flail, and kind of as you tense up, as Ogvar tenses up his hand on the bowstring, he just flings the flail behind him, tosses it away, obviously just showing that he's not going to attempt anything.
Oh, right, sorry. I thought Ogvar would have gone back down. I think
Yes,
he
so
was
Ogvar's
headbutt.
watching from the inside of the tower.
Oh, I see, okay.
So he's ready at an arrow,
Right,
instead
got
watching
it.
as per our kind
Yeah,
of Otto's.
fine.
I'm assuming he's inside the tower, but he's overwatching this whole scenario basically. And the guy throws away the flail. You see his hand go to his thigh where there's a dagger. He pulls the dagger out and kind of flings that way as well.
Those are some sensible life choices. I like this.
I think it's the most sensible one I've made to date, to be honest with you. And he kind of starts to push himself up, and he sits up, and he's... And you see he has indeed landed on a rather large chunk of ore, which looks very painful. And he looks up at you and goes... and just kind of stares up, just kind of waiting for you to say something or do something.
Well, if you're having such a bad day, how about we start things off in a civil fashion? Would you like some water?
Yeah, I could go for some water.
So we'll reach around and grab his water skin and pass it across, just a little cautiously. I'm Otto, this is Ogvar. I'm sorry, I've not really done this before. By the time we get to this stage, most people have kind of stopped moving. You have to bear with us while we kind of figure this bit out.
Thank you. He takes the water skin for you very gingerly. He's very clearly telegraphing all of his movements and just making sure that you know what he's doing, to the point where he's just shy of basically saying, "I'm going to reach for the water skin now." He is being that cautious with you.
So Otto's got the front. He's out the front door.
Yes,
of the,
yeah. He takes the water skin for you and he takes a swig and you see kind of dribble kind of goes down his face. He wipes it away and you can see clean skin underneath. He's just a little bit grimy, but you imagine living in a mine, you're gonna get a little bit grimy,
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you not killing me on sight.
Yeah, I think thank you is an appropriate response there. Maybe your name? Can we go there, maybe?
Yeah, sorry, just I think I smacked my head a bit on that fall, and he kind of rubs his hand up the back of his head, and then comes away, and there's a little bit of blood kind of on his palm. Yeah, definitely hit that. My name's Kaif.
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 Kaif. Kaif.
All right, Kaif. And okay, to have to ask the obvious question, what the hell are you doing in this mine?
Well, now that it's come to this, I'm rather questioning that myself.
Yes.
And he just kind of huffs out of breath. He's kind of sat there like a bit of a sad teddy bear, legs kind of in a V, kind of just slumped forwards, kind of looking up at you as you're stood there. He's like, well, I used to be a farmer. My lot in life wasn't as lush as I'd like, and I don't really know how it got to this stage. I got recruited. I was promised that I'd be paid handsomely for my services. 6 years down the line, here I am in a stinking mine, wearing these clothes, and he kind of pulls at the symbol on his chest, lets it go again. You see the fabric kind of crumple back down. It's kind of like a heavy fabric, and I find myself questioning why it's come to this point. Was it all really worth it? I'm thinking that it probably wasn't.
I would suggest that your day could get a lot worse if things were to go wrong. At the moment, maybe things can get better though, and maybe this could be the first day of what could possibly be a really long life. You might survive for another day or two if you carry on like this. It's looking good.
That would be preferable. So, yeah.
Let's assume that I'm someone who doesn't know a lot, because
Okay.
there are some things I know a lot about, and there are some things I don't know a lot about. Let's start with that symbol. Let's maybe talk about what it means to you and maybe to the people who live here.
I think during this conversation, Elora would have quietly come down the stairs after regaining her composure, and she would have heard part of this.
Yeah.
I think the only thing she would chip in from behind is, yeah, well, you don't seem very dedicated to your cause, do you?
He just kind of looks at you and he's slumped. He's just defeated. He's got the absolute demeanour of someone who's just kind of come to a sudden realisation that they fucked up in their life, and really getting back to where they were before is going to be a difficult journey. He's just got that demeanour of someone who's just kind of had that moment of realisation and kind of what was all this for. He looks up at you, Otto, adjusts himself on the ground to a bit more comfortable position. Well, didn't mean a lot to me 6 years ago. But, I just got tangled up in all... Well, I suppose you wouldn't. I just got tangled up in all of this mess, but...
Okay.
Became part of the cult. And, just been existing since then. They keep on promising, a better life for us. Money, riches, wealth. But it's never materialised. And honestly, I regret a lot now.
So what is it the cult wants? What are its goals?
I would tell you if I knew. I would tell you. But all we were told was to guard the room beyond, to make sure
Why?
that no intruders came in.
Why?
Well, they're doing something on the upper floors.
What are they
Don't
doing?
know what though. Well, I don't know. I think there's someone of importance here. Perhaps one of the leaders. I don't know. I'm just a lowly initiate, so to speak. I don't get told anything of importance.
You've been with them for 6 years and you're a lowly initiate.
Yes, it's a bit of a bad deal, isn't it? Very bad progression opportunities. And he kind of chuckles ruefully at you.
Cave, let me ask you this. If you had a chance to turn back time, or to make things good, given what you know now, would you take that opportunity? Or would you try to redo things in such a way that you'd get more advantage out of it? Which path would you choose if you had a choice?
He looks up at you. He makes direct eye contact with you at this point. If I could change my fate, I would. I don't want to be here. I don't want this life. I wanted a better life. And I'm worse off than I was before.
Well, I would be reluctant to leave you in the hands of the townsfolk, and given that we've ended this fight with you still breathing, that's one of the very few options available to us, but I think that your life would be very short if we were to do that. I'm not suggesting it'd be much longer, but as another path, perhaps, if you are looking to rectify your wrongs, perhaps if you can bring us around to trusting you, which, to make it very clear, I currently do not, then maybe we could give you that opportunity. But what you're going to need to do is to tell us as much about Skursdag, the cult, and its leaders as you can. You're going to need to furnish us with some sort of layout. You're going to need to let us know how many people are here. You're going to need to give us all this and anything else you can think of to try and encourage, to try and engender that trust. If you succeed, then perhaps, and Otto will just turn around to Ogvar and Elora, perhaps then you might have that opportunity. But I'd like first for you to try and prove to me that you're worth that opportunity.
Looking up at you, Kaif, he kind of blinks as he's almost in kind of surprise as you put this offer out and dangle it in front of him. Well, I can tell you about the rest of this floor of the mine, for certain. I could probably tell you a little bit of the next floor, but we're not really allowed beyond the first two chambers. There's higher ranking members up there who prevent us from going any further. I can't tell you much about the cult, to be honest, really.
Elora wants to cut in at this point. She's going to cut into his conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to stop you mid-flow. To the best of my knowledge, there are 3 leaders of the cult. I believe there is Vero, and I heard mention of someone called Istroth and Stavros. What do you know of these?
I don't know their names. The names aren't recognisable to me.
But these are supposed to be the 3 prongs of the trident, are they not?
I know the trident. I know of the trident.
Well, you're wearing it right there.
Yes, no, I know of... I'm not high-ranking. I don't get told anything. I get told to guard this door, guard that door, look after those prisoners. I don't get told anything of importance.
So do you have prisoners in here?
There were some.
Who were they? Where were they from?
I think a couple of the townsfolk.
Okay.
Maybe some more from other places who were brought.
And are they still there? Are they still in those rooms in here?
Not on this floor. There were some on this floor. But
what did they want them for?
I don't know. I don't get told anything. I know of the trident because that is how they referred to the prongs of the trident. But the names, I have never heard the names before. I assume that maybe someone higher up in the cult would have knowledge of them, but I don't. I don't know their names until you spoke them just now. I don't know. I don't. And he's. Could you all make me a
You're going
check.
looking for insight, and I'm guessing you're going to mean something like perception.
I know.
Yeah.
It's the. There's one on there. What's it? Let me check. Yeah. Can you all make me a sense motive check?
Sense motive. I'll go for...
I was about to say, it's not a skill I'm terribly good at. I have a +5, and then I rolled a nat 20.
Hey!
Okay, and Ogvar rolled a 16 plus a 1 for 17.
Sweet.
And Elora, a 17 minus 1 for a 16, so still decent.
Okay, sweet. So as he kind of stammers and he produces this information, you all kind of try to read him. You're obviously throughout this conversation you're trying to get a sense of what his real goals and intentions are, because you don't trust him. You've just thrown off the top of a bloody tower, for Christ's sake. So you're there trying to read his body language, his eyes, everything about him, his tone. You are reading all of this, and it is incredibly genuine. He is probably the most genuine person you may have even come across. You look at his eyes, he maintains direct eye contact at all times. There is a glimmer of hope as he is seeing an opportunity, a light at the end of the tunnel for him. He is producing this information, he is stammering, he is tripping over himself, just trying to assure you that he doesn't know a lot. He's not been given a lot of information, but he's trying. He's really trying to scrounge up as much information from the depths of his memory for the past 6 years as possible for you.
Can
Elora
I
will...
briefly interject and suggest that, given you're being so helpful, Keith, it might be useful for us to make sure you stay alive through this next conversation. So maybe if we all step inside the tower, and Ogvar, maybe you were to keep an eye on the exit outside the tower, and we could make sure this lovely fellow doesn't have any accidents if anyone else were to come around the corner.
Just one moment, Otto. There is something... Kaif, you seem like you were being genuine. However, I do have one question that I do require a genuine answer for. When you arrived, you were invisible. How is that? Why was that? Who are you? A simple farmer does not just cast invisibility on themselves.
No, quite right. I didn't cast it.
Who did?
One of the others.
What other?
Well, obviously there was names. There was can't find my names.
It's all in the preparation.
I've got it prepared. I'm still. I'm still. Why don't they have any names?
When you say you're still, are you looking at the name generator right now?
No, she doesn't use one. They all come straight off the top of her head.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Well, Madge, who's the
Madge.
one you burnt. She was a magic user. She cast spider climb on me. So how was I able to get up the tower? I just walked up it. But there were 2 more in the room beyond. There were 4 of us on this level guarding, and one of them cast invisibility on me to allow me to slip by and climb up the tower and conk you. I'm very sorry about that, by the way.
I should think so. You left me quite winded. It was a good shot.
I know it was, wasn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But I can't give you any points for style with falling.
No. I'm not particularly good at falling.
No, apparently not.
I don't know. If we were to enrol him in a belly flop competition, I'm sure he'd do quite well.
So what you're saying is that inside those rooms there are other magic users. Are there many?
Oh, there's one. So there were 4 of us in there. 2 of us, 2 use magic, 2 were physical fighters.
Right. You better do as Otto says. You better come in, get yourself cleaned up.
Do you want to bind me? And he kind of crosses his hands, offers his crossed hands up towards you.
There are 4 of us here. No, there aren't. There are 3 of us here. No. No. Elora's going to say there are 4 of us here.
Right, okay.
And
Maybe Ogvar would like to search this person rather than binding him, because he can't run anywhere if we close the door. He'd need the word.
Okay, so Elora, I want you to make me a deception check.
Oh,
okay. While Ogvar,
I knew that was coming.
while Otto, you can make me a search check for me.
It's not deception, is it? For 3.5, it's bluff.
Bluff, yes. Sorry, bluff.
So I shall roll.
3. So 3 plus a 7 for an average 10.
How wise is he? He's got a +1. Well, with a 15, he's definitely going to beat that. He looks at you and gives you a kind of like a half wry smile, as if he definitely knows there's not 4 of you, but isn't going to call it out.
Elora let that go anyway. It's a shot. It's a shot across the bow.
Okay, and Otto?
So rolling for Ogvar. I don't know what his bonus is, but he has 17 on the dice.
Sorry, Otto. That's you doing the search check was.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize. It's 17 on the dice. I have +3 for 20.
Yeah, okay, so you kind of gesture for him to get on his feet, and he gets himself up, and he's kind of keeping his hands very visible and kind of up and open and away from his person. And you conduct a quick search, you kind of pat him down, you flip open his cloak and whatnot, and you don't find anything, really. He's thrown his dagger away, he threw his flail away, he's just got the clothes on his back, really. You might find like an odd trinket or 2, like a set of dye in his pockets or something or the other, but there's nothing that could cause any harm to any of you. And you kind of conduct your search, and he kind of, as you conduct your search, he said, "Can I take this off?" Kind of pointing at his cloak. And I'm assuming you'll give him the go ahead and the nod. He'll reach up and he'll undo his cloak and he'll toss that, and so he's just left standing in basically a dirty white, like almost farmer's type shirt. Like it's very much, you imagine the clothing underneath his leathers and his armour. You could imagine it's the same clothing that he had 6 years ago when he was a farmer. It's like brown trousers, white shirt, very, very simple.
I should imagine they're very brown trousers by now. But as Elora surreptitiously just generally walks round him, she is going to take the cloak and quietly stuff it into her backpack.
Okay, you can do that.
Cool.
So you've checked him.
You were saying.
He's. Sorry. So you've checked him. He's clean. What are you doing?
So okay, if you were saying you were starting to tell us what you knew of this area.
Yes. Yes. So, have you taken him inside at this point? Have you?
Yes, yeah. We'll close the door as well.
Yeah. So you go in. He takes you inside. No, he doesn't take you inside. You take him inside. And he continues to explain. So the first thing he does is he's going to give you a view of what the mine, or this, what he calls the first floor of the mine, looks like. So I'm just going to pop a quick photo into Discord for you so that you can all kind of see this and make reference to it. So give me 1 second to take the photo. Cool, there we go, and I'll send that. Send. There we go. So he sends you. He doesn't send you a photo of the mine. I send you a photo of the mine, and this is what he will describe. He describes, obviously, you've been through the first 2 chambers. You're in this 3rd chamber, which is on orange on the map, where you've got your tower set up, and you can see the line going through the mine is where the mine track runs for these little mine carts. You can see the point where the trap is on the far left, or was this log trap. And then going beyond that, you can see what appears to be an empty room, which he tells you is just an empty chamber. There's some mining equipment in there. It's just an empty chamber, and they left it that way. Coming up to a door, he indicates there is a door there. When they settled in the mine, they were instructed to craft a door, something to seal off this part of the mine in this narrow neck, to separate this area so that should anyone make their way through the first 3 rooms, which were loaded deliberately with monsters, then they would reach a point where they're going to reach a physical barrier. He tells you that the room beyond, in this red area, is basically where these 4 guards were assigned to live and work. The first area by the door has got living space, table, chair, kind of cooking area, some camp rolls, really bad quality. The next room is large, and there's these 2 kind of barred sections on either side, as he describes, which is where they would have kept some prisoners. And he tells you that the conditions were not great, but they weren't as bad as they could be. You know, there's hay on the floor, the prisoners were kept in there, but they've now all been moved off. One of the higher level guards from the next layer up in the mine came down a couple of days ago and took the prisoners out and removed them, so these cells are now empty. Going through the kind of the room beyond that, where you've got this kind of the end of the mine track, he says it's just the end of the mine track. There's a lot of supplies in there for, and in the little bit offshoot of that up to the kind of northeast, that little kind of empty blank space. There's a lot of supplies there for where the miners would have been laying more mine tracks. So there's a lot of wood, a lot of metal pieces, a lot of junk, and you imagine that, you know, it's just general mine clutter, as he describes to you. There's nothing of really any interest there. There's maybe a couple of crates with some supplies in, but nothing of any interest. He then tells you that there's a very long snaking passage going off from there. And it's uneven, it's bumpy. He tells you it slopes slightly uphill. And then when you get into this room beyond, this open chamber in green, dark green on the bottom right-hand corner, he tells you that room he particularly hates it. It is covered in webs. And he doesn't know particularly what they are, but he knows that the cult, when they took over this mine, they basically, orders came from the top to fill this place with defences, monsters, traps, etc. And this room, covered in webs, there were, to his knowledge, spiders released into here. He doesn't know what type of spider. He doesn't know what they might do. He doesn't know how aggressive they are. And basically, it's covered in sticky webs. It's really difficult to walk through, and they cannot pass through it to get to the next floor. What usually happens is when people come down from the floor above to enter this room and do work in this area, they bring some kind of special, like a powdered bait with them, which is enough to kind of fend off these creatures. And as far as his knowledge extends, that bait is what's used to kind of forge a clear path through here. But there is none of that on this floor of the mine. The powder and stuff is kept on the floor above, by his knowledge, or even the floor above that. So that's what he tells you. He tells you there is on the very bottom right corner here, and he draws this map out. He asks for some paper and a parchment and a quill, and he draws this map out for you. And this bottom right corner is a sloping, again, quite a steep slope upwards to the next level of the mine. And he's only been up into this area once, and that's when he was brought up, when they first kind of arrived. And what he'll tell you, or what he'll show you, is he'll draw out the next 2 floors. Not the next floor. The next 2 rooms. Just trying to get a picture, sorry. sorry, my Discord's just disappeared. Where's it gone? Oh, it's annoying. Hang on, sorry, Discord's glitching. There you go. So he draws out the next 2 rooms for you. The arrow where you can see on his map is where the entrance is, going up this steep slope, and it obviously widens out into an open chamber, which he just describes again. There's supplies and stuff there. And then the room beyond is another area where there are a couple of guards, a living area, a kind of table, facilities for cooking, and then you probably can't see, but right under where my hand is on that picture, it bottlenecks down into a very narrow passageway, and that has there's been an iron door with keys. He knows that the iron door in there has locks, which require keys to open.
Right, so he knows that there are 2 rooms that he's visited on the floor.
Yes.
But there is an iron door that leads further on beyond that he hasn't been to.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, he basically describes to you, and I'm not going to do his voice because that's going to hurt my throat, but he doesn't know the structure of the room beyond, but he knows that there is obviously the rest of the mine beyond that. He also knows that there was a reference in conversation with one of these other guards when they were barking orders at him and his fellow lowly cultist companions, that there was a reference to the top floor. So there is at least 1 floor above that floor. So there are at least 3 floors in this mine. But he doesn't know for sure how big it is, what the structure's like, or even what's up there. He's never been. He's basically been, by his own description, he's been confined to this small area of cave.
Cave? That's all very interesting information. Thank you for sharing that with us. You play fair by us, we'll play fair by you. Because let's face it, let's just cut to the chase here. The only thing between you and death is us. Because,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, there's also, I forgot to say, this corner here, and he kind of points. He's inside the town, but he kind of points, and he shows you on the map as well. There was a tunnel through this section of the mine, which we collapsed.
The section of the mine that you collapsed?
Yeah, and he points basically here on the map.
On the ground, on the ground floor?
On this floor of the map, on the ground floor of the map, between the red and the orange rooms, the orange room you're currently in and the red room, there is a section of the wall on the right-hand side where there used to be you imagine it was a very like short tunnel, like just a doorway effectively, which had been mined through to access bits of the mine quicker, and they effectively collapsed some rocks around it and filled it in.
Yeah.
So he does tell you that there is that bit there.
Just a collapsed section.
Yeah, so it would have been a doorway, a quick way in. They basically filled it with rocks, collapsed a bit of it, and basically made it impassable.
Okay.
It's a defensive decision.
Yeah, they basically there was a hole. They filled it.
Yeah.
For defensive reasons, right? Okay. Bear with me. Cave. When do all the recruits, let's call them recruits, here, does everybody know everyone else, or is this a case of different recruits come in and replace people, so it is a constantly moving thing, and does everybody know each other, or not necessarily?
Well, we've only been here for a couple of days, I think. Difficult to know what time passes in the mine. It's dark all the time and dank. But we haven't been here for long. Certainly, I've seen they've moved us around places before. In the 6 years I've been with the cult, we've moved several times to different locations, underground locations mostly, squirreled away in the darkness. But I've met many different people in that time, many different recruits of my level. There are only 4 of us here at the moment, but I assume that...
Well, does that include the dead one?
Yes, including the dead one and myself, yes. Okay. There are only 4 low-level recruits.
So let me make this easy for you. What I'm trying to say is, if I were to dress as a Skursdag cultist and wander in there, Would that seem odd?
Yes, very odd.
So they would know if somebody strange wandered in.
Yes, because there are only 4 of us here, and we've
Yeah,
been
okay.
here for a couple of days. So there's
All right.
Madge, myself, and the other 2.
Okay.
So if you're not Madge or myself, it'd be a little bit difficult to, sneak in.
Okay. Was she blonde? Did we say she was blonde?
You don't know.
Yeah.
She's
She's
crispy.
black now, but
I think she
Well,
was.
Yeah,
charred.
yeah. It's going to be a little bit difficult to figure out what colour her hair was. Bearing in mind it's all been burnt off.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. And what to do next?
Cave. One of the things you said made me want to ask a little further. You said you've only been here a couple of days. Where have you come from, and how did you get here? Because with the entrance of the mine facing towards the town, and there being miners here, I would have assumed that you would have been seen as well.
Yeah. Well, we came in through the woods, through the back of not through the back of the mountain, but so previously we were instructed to move. We move under the cover of darkness. We've been travelling for a couple of days from over by Stensia. So we've been travelling through the forest, keeping off of the paths. Obviously carrying a lot of equipment and whatnot on pack animals, etc. And obviously there's lots of equipment, lots of things like monsters and things like that to be transported on carts as well. So it was slow progress.
Is that where those warg things came from?
Yes.
Those nasty wargs?
Yes, all of the creatures. I think
They come from Stensia.
No, not from Stensia. They're sourced in the cult. Someone's either making them or taming them or capturing them, but there's a supply chain that runs throughout all the different little clusters, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
There's always been a fresh supply of creatures wherever I've been. And so we travelled through the woods. At night we camped in the day and made sure there was no prying eyes around, and obviously the woodland is, you don't see many people in the woods, and at this point I'll be like, well, yes, it's quite spread out in there. And when we came to this mine, obviously there were people here, the workers, and they released those disgusting creatures that were in here, those horrible poison spitters.
Yeah, they were pretty nasty.
They released them into the mine and drove the miners out. They were, despite being vile creatures, they were well trained by fear and pain. So they chased the miners out, cleared the mines out, and once they were gone, we moved in. And we were set up in the bottom, in this layer of the mine, and everyone else moved on to the upper layers of the mine. And I believe at some point perhaps even one of the prongs was arrived here, but I don't know by what means. We didn't see them. They certainly didn't come through the front entrance.
At that, Elora would snap her head round to look at Ogvar and just give him that look. Her face suddenly growing extremely serious. I mean, from Elora's perspective, she can see the magics that have been cast outside of the mine. She can see the nastiness inside of the mine. You know, the dome thing outside, the nastiness inside the mine, the fact that they have magic users. The whole thing stinks.
Yeah.
Metaphorically and physically.
Yes. And he kind of and the people that were taken from the town, they did pass through this area of the mine. They were the upper members of the cult on the next floor up would be sent out on missions. They can be trusted to run missions, apparently, and they would be disguised, spelled with invisibility. As they left the mines, they would spell themselves with invisibility. I assume as they got closer to the town, and they would sneak in, and they'd make boasts about how easy it was to snatch people, and they'd return with those people spelled with invisibility, so they weren't seen by anybody else. And when they brought them here, they'd be bound and gagged and blindfolded, and they'd drag them, and they'd either drop them in the cells on this floor, or they'd take them further upstairs. I'm assuming there's more holding cells up there.
So, Kev, you mentioned you were only aware of 4 cultists here. However, you've mentioned
lower
several
level.
times others. Yeah. So, how many are we looking at on the upper levels as a minimum?
As a minimum, there were 4, but I assume there were more further in. We only ever saw 4 people, the same people who deal with us, the same people who would go out and retrieve people. I assume there were more here. We didn't travel with many. There were only the 8 of us travelling over, but I can only assume that they've brought more people in via another method.
And how many of those poison beasts have you come into contact with? Are there more upstairs?
No, there were only 3.
Okay. And
3, 4.
4. Okay. And obviously you've seen a number of these villages go by. There's a couple in particular I'd like to ask about, and perhaps you can comment as to how many you think have come by in total, and as to why. Why take the time to go into the town if what they want is here in the mine?
What do they want in the mine?
That's the question.
Are they after? Are they actually after resources? What is it about this mine? Why are they in here?
I don't know. We were told to. Well, the only information the 4 of us, lower level, I suppose, initiates or whatever you want to call us. It was the only thing we were told is that we were to ensure that this floor of the mine was well defended. Beyond that, I don't know the purpose of why we're here. Certainly, I haven't seen them taking any silver out of the mine.
I can only assume. She's going to turn to Otto. I can only assume that they're using this as a base of operations because it's underground. It's easy to fortify.
There's a couple of reasons. Yes, it's a defensive point, but you have to question why a silver mine specifically. Keith, I understand that you are a lower ranked initiate, but do you know what relationships the Skursdag cult might have with the werewolves in the area? Are they hostile to one another?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a werewolf, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Certainly, I've heard of them. I've known of them. I was from Kessig myself, but I honestly, I don't think this has got anything to do with werewolves.
Well, the only connection here between silver and werewolves is really Stensia. Stensia has always been a hub, a central point for really nasty things, vampires and werewolves and the like. I mean, silver mines, yeah, you take a silver mine, then you're shutting down one source of silver that can potentially be used against them, to harm them.
Can you all make me a religion check real quick?
Yep. Right, religion.
If I was with another play group, they'd be telling me I need to take these dice away and replace them.
You're not having a good day.
No,
who's
quite the
having a very
reverse. I'm
good
having
day?
a very
Oh,
good
right.
day. I got a
Religion
19 on the
check.
dice. My religion is not very good though. +4 for 23 in total.
Ogvar doesn't have a religion check, so should he just do knowledge?
Make me a wisdom check.
A wisdom check. Okay. So that's an 8 + 1 for 9 for Ogvar, so
9,
not terribly
okay.
high. Sorry, Rick, you were.
No,
rolled,
it's
haven't you?
so. Yeah, all done. Just waiting on Laura.
Elora, she doesn't have religion either, so she will also do a wisdom check.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not going to go well. Well, it's a 12 - 1 for an 11,
So we've got an 11. Ogvar had a.
can't remember, it wasn't very high.
8.
Right, okay.
8,
8,
9, 8,
okay.
something like that.
And Rick, you had, was it 21?
23.
23. Okay. So, Elora and Ogvar probably wouldn't have much of a point of reference here, but Otto, perhaps being a bit more travelled certainly coming from Gavany, as you know, your kind of your origins. It would probably be something you're aware of, that a lot of silver is basically headed shipped straight to the church up in Thraben. They use a lot of silver up in the big cities. It's a high selling point. The nobles who live up there use a lot of silver for things like silverware, their cutlery, even to the point of like gilded picture frames aren't done in gold but in silver. But silver is very much a show of wealth.
Because of its additional properties.
Yeah, so especially for people up in Thraben, where obviously you've got silver is such a big religious symbol as well, that having more silver means you're more religious, you're more pious, you're more blessed by Avacyn. So yeah, it's one of those things where you could probably inference, Otto, from this, that the mine has probably been taken because A, it's a good place for them to set up, B, it's going to disrupt some shipments of silver up to the city, and probably just because it's in a place where they can get hold of what you assume to be get hold of people easily, because they have been snatching people.
More outlying areas.
Yeah.
So they're more interested in the people in the village than they are the contents of the mine.
I think you could make that assumption reasonably, because there is no trace of mining. You can't hear anything being mined, but certainly you know that people have been taken and they've driven people away from the mines on purpose.
So Otto wouldn't necessarily think that it was the fact that they would use the silver for funding their operation.
No. You would all.
It was to withhold it, to.
You would all
block
pretty
it.
much know that anyone selling large amounts of silver is probably going to get under a bit of scrutiny, probably because people want to make sure the silver is of pure enough quality, and because silver is such a, it's a commodity which is mostly sold to the church.
That wasn't actually what Otto was thinking. You see, Otto spent a long time in Kessig. He met a friend here who actually is a werewolf, and he would probably know that werewolves simply wouldn't want necessarily to go into a place like a silver mine. It'd be quite painful with silver dust everywhere. So he was simply thinking that would be a good place to hole up if you had concerns that werewolves might be in the area. If that's not part of it, then that's fine. It helps us narrow down other things.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I think
quite
so.
good.
I think from what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of sum it all up. So I think from this information that you've been presented, you can get a pretty good idea that the cultists, there is another way that they are getting people and resources in. Not one which you can see or one which you think is physical, because this mine is pretty much one entrance only as far as you can tell. So you're assuming there is another way that they are getting people and resources into the mine. You know that they are snatching people from the town for whatever reason. And Kaif doesn't know what that reason might be. He's not been told anything. And he's told you everything to the fullest extent that he can. You know that there is possibly one of the prongs of the trident here. Not Vero, because obviously he's dead.
Yes,
but,
which he doesn't know.
Yeah, which he doesn't.
Elora did not give that information up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know that there's a potential for there to be one prong of the trident here. And with Hans Reinhardt's disappearance, you can probably say that Hans has probably been snatched. Although you wouldn't know, because he wouldn't know, whether that would be a deliberate snatching or just a happenstance because he's just been snatched as one person who's been taken by sheer coincidence. So I think that's a fairly tidy way to kind of tie everything up into kind of summarise it into a couple of bullet points. And that is what you will know from this conversation. Obviously you have the layout of the bottom floor, you have the next two rooms on the second floor, and you know there is potentially at least 3 floors to this mine.
Right. Okay. Right.
And that is everything that Kaif knows. Everything. And he has laid that bare for you, straight out in front of you, and that check which he made for the sense motive absolutely persists. He is being 100% straight with you. He's told you every single detail he remembers.
After unleashing a body blow upon Elora, the tower trespasser soon found himself unceremoniously ditched in the dirt before the druid ventured out to parley with their new visitor. A conversation ensued before the companions saw fit to offer him some respite. Once they were safely back inside their tower, they offered a little leniency, and after an interrogation, they learned quite a lot from Kaif. Seemingly a simple man from a simple background, the Skurstag promises and their powers of persuasion had regrettably swayed his life choices. But will he hold true with his snap decision to change allegiances and ally himself on the side of Avacyn, or do the dirty and double-cross the companions? Join us next week to see how the party progress.